I gotta believe that an appeals court, the Supreme Court, whatever court, has to understand that this ruling by this one judge overturns not just access to mifepristone, but possibly any number of drugs.
What if they don't?
That's speculation that I think is not worth engaging in.
But are you taking it off the table that you will recommend the FDA ignore a ban?
Everything is on the table.
HHS Secretary Javier Becerra right there reacting to the ruling by a Texas federal judge to suspend FDA's approval of the abortion pill mifepristone. Democrats are calling for the Biden administration to ignore that ruling. To discuss, Erik Baptist is the senior counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom, who's spearheading the suit against abortion pills. Dr. Frank Contacessa is an internist at the Custom Care Medical Center, and Krisha Linzo is a GOP strategist. They all join us live now. Good to see everyone. Thank you so much, Erik. I'll start with you, obviously, on this one. Your group leading the effort against mifepristone. Talk to us about this, and again, lawmakers calling for essentially the FDA to ignore this Texas judge's ruling.
We were pleased with the court's decision. Our clients have been challenging the FDA's approval of dangerous chemical abortion drugs for decades, and they finally had their day in court. And what the FDA did here was so blatantly illegal and unlawful, and frankly egregious, that the court agreed with our clients that this should be set aside and halted because what the FDA did was so blatantly illegal.
Doctor, I'll bring you into this if you wanted to elaborate on here. How should the administration go about handling the mifepristone in the wake of this ruling? We know that I believe it was a D.C. judge got involved to essentially push back on it. And there is, again, many states that are willing and ready to do so, at least according to certain lawmakers. Doctor, your thoughts on that?
Well, good morning, Sean, and thanks for having me. You know, this is a difficult legal and political question. And I can comment from a medical point of view and say that, you know, whether or not I'm for or against this or abortion or anything like that, I'm not going to step into that minefield. But from a medical point of view, the drug's been around for a while. It is relatively well regulated. You know, in other words, not anyone can prescribe this drug. So I, as an internist, I don't have need to prescribe this drug, and I couldn't prescribe this drug. You have to be certified and registered with the FDA and take sort of a course to be able to prescribe this drug. So it's not something that I could even prescribe. So it's relatively well regulated now. So anything beyond that scope is getting into is abortion good or bad? Should abortion be illegal or illegal? And I think that's beyond sort of the medical scope. But what I can tell you is that it's been used relatively safely for, you know, almost 20 years. And it's relatively well regulated in the sense that not just anybody can prescribe it. You can't walk in off the street and get this drug. You have to go to a doctor who is used to prescribing this and is certified to, because there are potential risks, you know, if you pregnancy, which, you know, up to 10 or 20% of pregnancies can be ectopic, and it can be dangerous if you take this drug in that setting.
Doctor, really quick, if I can stay with you on the medical topic of that, is there any danger to women pulling this off? If I read this correctly, there is another abortion pill that is out there aside from mifepristone. Would that be the one available? Is there one better than the other? If mifepristone is off the market essentially or banned, how does that affect women seeking an abortion?
Right. So mifepristone is often used in conjunction with another drug called misoprostol, which on its own can be used to terminate a pregnancy. It's not as effective as mifepristone is. So I think if we're looking for a drug to terminate a pregnancy, this is probably a reasonable one to use.
All right. Krisha, I'll move on back to the politics of it all here, too, and obviously however you want to respond. But I wanted to play this for you if I can. Democrats in Washington calling for the administration to push back again against this situation here. And this is New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's what she said.
I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. I think that the courts have the legitimacy and they rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And what they are currently doing is engaged in an unprecedented and dramatic erosion of the legitimacy of the courts.
And I wanted to, Krisha, if we can just kind of get off the topic of whether you agree with abortion or you don't agree with abortion or methods of it, et cetera, just put that aside for a second. What you have there is a U.S. lawmaker essentially on national television saying, hey, we can ignore the laws that we do not agree with. We can ignore the court if we do not agree. What do you make of that?
Well, it's in line with everything AOC stands for when it comes to ignoring law and order. She is someone who goes against everything that is our fundamental values. And clearly in this instance, we are looking at an abortion law, which whether or not you agree or not with what's taking place, the fact is that she's saying to go against a court ruling. That is just not what we stand for in the American government. We have each branch, and you don't go against one and say that you should completely ignore their ruling. I do believe this case will continue to be looked at on appeal, and it could potentially end up in higher courts for sure. But to go against a ruling, that is just not acceptable.
We'll wrap it up there. We appreciate the time of Erik Baptist, Dr. Contacessa. Thank you both, gentlemen. We appreciate that. Chris, if you can stick around. As you